LenTotally is a YouTuber who is viewed by the majority of children, and this is very obvious. I don't have to have his analytics to know this because it's a Gacha Life YouTuber, and you can tell by the majority of his comments that there are children.
No one should be on your side. You just admitted to manipulating a child.
Despite the video saying he traumatized her, there's contradictory evidence in the DMs that, to me at least, could be interpreted as her being the one who initiated it and her egging it on.
What matters is that you have control in the situation. You know how dedicated this person is. They aren't just going to say no. If they made the initial contact, then the ball is in your court, Len.
LenTotally is a popular gacha tuber with over 600,000 subscribers. He rose to fame by doing Gacha Club update reports and is now mostly known as one of the leading gacha animators in the gacha community. Recently, LenTotally is under quite a controversy related to pedophilia and grooming. We have interviewed people who are close and related to LenTotally and the alleged victim, and we discovered some interesting details regarding to this controversy. To respect their wishes for anonymity, we will censor the names of the people who have provided information regarding this topic. Before we get to the story, we just want to send out this disclaimer. This video is only meant to report on news gathered from our perspective sources in order to give more insight on the situation of the recent events. Please wait until the end of the video before forming your own opinion. We ask you not to send any hate on LenTotally, Rosie Closey, Suki Online, and Garby VA, and to anyone else involved or shown in the story. On February 22nd, a channel named LenTotally Exposed released a video with the title LenTotally Exposed Evidence of LenTotally Grooming a Child. LenTotally has been accused of pedophilia and grooming. YouTuber LenTotally has engaged in sexually explicit behavior online with a minor on a number of occasions. LenTotally is 20 years old. The victim was 14 at the time. These interactions went on for a number of months. The interactions consisted of explicit videos of the minor, explicit pictures of the minor, sexual or other inappropriate messaging, sexual conversations, and calls. According to the video, LenTotally was allegedly in a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old. Furthermore, there are more evidences being shown in the video that supports this claim. The video also shows that the minor has shared more than 15 explicit videos. Words like fucking and suck me off for use in the conversation. They also engage in erotic roleplay from what we could see from the screenshots. Finally, at the end of the video, it has been mentioned that they will provide more evidence if LenTotally denies these accusations. YouTubers were quick to call out LenTotally's action. Lonely Heart Club says, "Wow, how are we just not hearing this? This went on for months. This is just disgusting, really." Kuri says, "On behalf of the entire gacha community, we no longer accept Len as one of ours. The pedophiles can have him." Dogfish says, "Hey guys, please stay respectful discussing it. I understand joking in a serious situation, but be careful when you are. This is an actual heavy subject you need to be careful with. Oh, and this isn't some cancel culture or a petty drama situation. This is genuine. Please treat it as such." Boba Angel says, "It's sad seeing your idol having another side of himself." YouTubers such as Rosie Closey and literally Yuhan even commented on the issue. Rosie Closey says, "In regard to the LenTotally situation, I would like to confirm that this is true and the evidence provided is real. Not much more can be revealed in order to protect the minor's identity. Please respect that the victim wishes to remain anonymous. It is their choice if they want to reveal their identity. They were incredibly brave to come forward about this, and conspiring about the victim's identity is making this a lot harder for them than it already is. The event that occurred yesterday was very shocking. We're all sad, furious, and depressed, disappointed, and disgusted for what he did. I already know what this person did, and we all know that his actions were intolerable and just outright wrong. But please, stop messaging me in my social medias about this. I already know and is aware of what happened, and I am already not feeling well. It's stressing me out when all I hear is, 'Have you heard about what this person did?' Especially when I have known this person for a very long time. Please never mention him and his name on my channel anymore. Thank you. Later on, Johan added another community post saying, "Death threats are not the answer." YouTubers that were close friends with LenTotally also shared the exposed video the time it went out, like Garby VA and Suki Online. Hey everyone, this is a more serious topic, but if you aren't in my Discord server or Rosie Closey's server, you might have not heard, but a big icon in our community is proven to be a groomer or pedophile. Please watch the video for more context or evidence, both screenshots and video. I repeat, take this seriously. It even got shared in major GachaTuber servers such as Susu's Bakery. Rosie's Mystical Meadow made an announcement regarding this issue, and even on Entwined Private Stuff Lounge, a server owned by LenTotally himself, Garby VA made a statement regarding LenTotally at the exact time the video went out, hinting that Rosie Mystical Meadow and Susu's Bakery and were already expecting the exposed video to pop out. LenTotally staff also made a statement saying that they weren't aware of what had happened and they do not condone the actions of LenTotally.
LenTotally and Sophia had their first interaction in July 2019. From then on, they became really close friends, comfortable enough to go on calls that would last for long hours. They would also get in calls with another friend of theirs, Aiden. The three of them would have a quote-unquote sleep callings together. Months went by and the three developed a stronger relationship. According to people who are close to them, they would always stream in the server called Entwined, and it looks as if the trio already had an inseparable bond. Around November 2019, Sophia contacted Amy. In the screenshot, it shows that Sophia was asking for a video of Len singing. We asked Amy if she had permission from Len to send this. This was her answer. Amy confirmed that Sophia and Len already knew of each other's true identity. Amy also told us how Sophia and Len met. They apparently met in a Discord server of a friend of theirs, and that's how their friendship started. 7 months since their initial interaction, Sophia admitted to LenTotally that she had feelings for him, which ended up in a rejection. To sum it up, Len said he's hesitant in getting in a relationship because of his previous 2 relationships, with those 2 being Vanessa and Amy. He was also hesitant in being in a relationship with someone who is younger. He also added that he doesn't want to get into any relationships until he is ready. According to Sophia, the rejection hit her hard. She mentioned how much help Len asks from her and that it was fine, and as to how she shouldn't have pressured him into thinking about quote-unquote us, and she shouldn't have prioritized her feelings over his. Sophia wasn't mad at his jokes since every time they stream on Entwined, he would quote-unquote roast her as part of his jokes. She also mentioned that she is surprised that he even talks to her when Len only talks to Vanessa or Amy. We asked Amy if Sophia knew about Amy's relationship with Len. This was her response. Len told Amy not to tell Sophia since he knows she would easily get jealous. We later figured out that Len told Sophia anyway, even though he told Amy not to say anything to the girl. From the screenshots that Amy sent, and according to her, it looked like Len still liked Vanessa, even after he confessed to Amy. Amy then confirmed that Len was never interested in Sophia, since in truth, he still had feelings for Vanessa. According to this screenshot, Sophia was actually close with Vanessa. Sophia told Len that Vanessa no longer had feelings for him. We then proceeded to interview Vanessa herself, and this is what she had to say. We can actually see here that Sophia lied to Len about him not having any chances with Vanessa anymore. Around March 2020, a friend of Len, Ella, sent us a screenshot of her conversation with Sophia. According to Sophia herself, she's been doing ERPs with different people since she was 12. Ella even tried to warn her that even though Len is trustworthy, he might do something that she was going to regret, but Sophia ignored the warning anyway. At the very same day, in the 24th of March, we could see in these screenshots that Sophia has been suggesting to offer her body in her conversation with LenTotally. We also received screenshots back from March 29 of their erotic roleplays that they have done. Around May 2020, their ERP became even more aggressive as it looked like Sophia has started sharing bits of photos of her undergarments to Len.
From the information that we could gather around June of 2020, Sophia began to send explicit photos to Len. This is where everything started to go wrong, where Len was making small jokes around the sexual topic. While he tried to dismiss it, Sophia persisted to the point she began to offer pictures of herself. While Len was against it at first, he quickly began a spiral of denying her weekly and accepting her advances with his own. From June 2020 to December 2020, she would send an average of at least 3 explicit photos per week. 3 of those last months, she was already in a relationship with someone else. Later on, around August, a friend of Len named Eliza also showed information about her talks with Sophia. According to Eliza, Sophia was really excited to turn 18 soon so that she can finally do whatever she wants with him. It also implies that Sophia was totally aware of the age gap between Len and her. This made Eliza a bit concerned. Sophia dismissed it at the end, saying, "I may be young, but it doesn't mean I am innocent." A few days later, after talking to Sophia, Eliza saw that Sophia was having some problems regarding private matters. Concerned, she asked what happened, and this is what Sophia said. Eliza thinks that Sophia is jealous of her as she's getting Len's attention more than her around this time, resulting into an aggressive Sophia. Eliza then dropped the topic. Around the 7th of September, Len got mad at Sophia for insulting him in Entwine while he was streaming in a public call. Sophia reasoned why she acted like that towards him and said that it was because she was being obsessive and she didn't know how to act when he's around. Len said he couldn't do anything on public live while she was insulting him since he can't be mad publicly. He had to act mature about it in front of everyone since he's older and that he should be a role model. He also said that he's slowly getting afraid of her. According to Sophia, she can't defend herself since she's afraid of saying awful things that would make her lose Len. Sophia continued to talk about how she is willing to change to become better for Len and that she doesn't want Len to be afraid of her. She also said that she only wants to spend time with him. Instead, she just scares him and pisses him off, which makes Len want to leave their calls. Sophia mentioned that he should at least try to tell her something when she did something that upsets him. She also brought up the topic about Len rejecting her and the entire internet, which she claims that Len never consulted her and asked if it was okay with her. Len argued that he actually asked, but he just didn't want to show the video before it got uploaded, since it might upset her again like the time he asked her beforehand. The very next day, they talk about being friends with benefits. Sophia and Len have been using each other as a stress reliever, as what Len calls it. Sophia even was happy about it. At least she got to be friends with benefits with the person she likes and not get replaced. On the 18th of September, another friend of Len and Sophia, Elliot, discovered that Sophia has been sending explicit photos to Len. Elliot tried to ask and warn her if she was sure of what she was doing. Sophia dismissed it by saying she doesn't care. On November 1st, Sophia discovered that even though Len and Vanessa, Len's ex, are no longer together, Len still had lingering feelings for Vanessa. We can see in the screenshot that Len wanted to end the relationship, but Sophia was afraid of losing him that it actually made her cry. Sophia asked Len to be honest of his fears and tell her, but he can't. She proceeded to tell him that she would love him with all of his fears and insecurities, and that even if she was with someone else, Len would still be her priority. Len said that what they are doing isn't right and it's going to get even more fucked up if they kept on continuing it. Sophia then responded by saying she will always be there as a friend and even as a friend with benefits. On March 19, a screenshot from Vanessa when she and Sophia were still talking showed a very interesting confession. In here, Sophia talked about how she is actually dating a guy named Jason. She mentioned how bad she feels for Jason as she sees him as a second choice and that she can't love him as much as how he loves her. She also said that they will become official the very next day, but she still can't get over Len even if she did try. Now we have to remind ourselves that even though Sophia is dating Jason, she still sends explicit medias to Len until December. On that very same day, Sophia and her friend Laura were talking about Len. Laura thinks Vanessa was flirting with Len. Sophia then told Laura if she can curse at Len. LenTotally no longer communicates with Sophia as much as he used to. Though when they do, it would be Sophia who would initiate the conversation. After the last meetings on January 21, it would be the last time Sophia and Len would converse, as Sophia and Aiden would block Len after that. 8 days after Sophia blocked Len from Discord, Sophia told Lara what happened right after Lara hosted an event with Len and Elliot in a server outside of Entwined. Sophia asked Lara if she was curious why she blocked Len. Sophia then said that she was groomed by him. She further explained what happened from the beginning of June, when she started sending Len explicit photos. Lara said she does not completely believe everything at the moment, and the evidences provided are not enough. Sophia went on saying how bad the things Len did to her by asking her explicit photos when she is a minor while Len is an adult. She even mentioned how depressed she was for months, and Jason was the reason why she realized how bad things were her for the past few months. Sophia said she was uncomfortable and there were times where he would insist her to send explicit photos even if she said no. She also claimed that she got manipulated by Len since he was using her feelings to get what he wants. She already told her close friends about the issue as well. Lara explained that she believes what Sophia told her, but she does not want to take sides as she wants to hear both sides of the story. A month later, on February 16, Sophia talked to one of her friends, Kyle. Kyle told Sophia that he noticed she's no longer in Len's server, Entwined. Kyle learned about what happened between Sophia and Len, and that Aiden also left Entwined. Sophia mentioned how she doesn't want to ruin his reputation, and that she even defended Len from a previous accusation before. Sophia even told Vanessa, Len's ex, about what happened to her. She talked about how Len ruined her sense of innocence and how he sexualized her body. Her last message saying, "How could I not do something about it?" implies that she finally resolved herself to expose Len.
The purpose of showing you all this is due to the fact that the whole story wasn't shown. The exposed video of LenTotally was impartial and painted Len and the victim in a black and white scale. Even though this was not the case, Len has definitely made grave mistakes here, and we do not defend him here in any way. We simply wanted to show everyone the entire story as we wish for people to treat the situation with full awareness of how both sides acted. Grooming is the act of convincing a child to lower their guard with the intent of sexual abuse. As shown in the pictures earlier, the victim was the one who decided to change the relationship into a sexual one, offering pictures of themselves with no gouging or prodding at all from Len's side. Len had only joked about the topic with the intent to drop it, whereas the victim persisted up until she offered herself and pics later in the conversation. However, later on, both sides were encouraging the photos to be made and sent, Len and the victim with the same intent. While actions done by LenTotally were pedophilic in nature and should be punished, the victim was the one who instigated, flaunted to her friends in voice calls and DMs, and encouraged it just as much as Len did later on. The victim was well aware of the misdeed she was offering and was even warned by her friends as shown and explained earlier. While the victim is underage and cannot give legal consent, this is a teenager who is aware of sexual content, was warned not to do it and told otherwise, and persisted on their offer of sexual acts despite it all. In legal terms, she cannot be faulted here. However, one can also look at it in a moral sense. Teenagers can be faulted for crimes such as vandalism, theft, and abuse. While the punishments vary, they almost always are lighter and still held accountable for their actions. This is because the law can see teenagers as adults, depending on the gravity of the crime. The victim committed no crime here but morally can be held accountable for her own actions and how it has affected others due to her poor handling of situations. Back in January 2021, Lara met up with Sophia in person thanks to her parents' approval and support. She was close friends with Sophia and even took pictures at her home. She did this because Lara was thankful to be friends with Sophia. Sophia even acknowledged Lara as one of her closest friends. Lara was straightforward, sheltered, and blunt. Lara was one of the people that Sophia would go to when she wanted to gossip about the explicit content she got. Sophia approached Lara with a question of why she had blocked LenTotally. She then explained to Lara that she was groomed and heeded her to not tell anyone and asked if she wanted to know more. During that time, Sophia told Lara that she could not say no to him. When the video came out, Lara soon understood what grooming and pedophilia actually meant and was scared for not knowing sooner. When she confronted Sophia how traumatizing and terrifying the situation was, Sophia snapped back at her statement, saying that Lara did not listen to her and she was supporting the groomer, LenTotally. Even though Lara was staying neutral due to her own beliefs, she was slowly cast aside by their friend group and even harassed that she was a groomer supporter. A popular and well-known GachaTuber announced and stated what Sophia said to her in private without contacting Lara herself for her side, and changed people's opinion of her without her being able to say anything. It was a huge impact to Lara because she was staying neutral and avoiding bias since she is a mutual of both parties and wanting to avoid conflict in general. This not only happened to Lara, it also happened to another close friend of Sophia who has known her longer than Lara did. For context, this closer friend of Sophia had personal life issues such as exams and study taking up all her time. When the video came out, Sophia expected her close friend to be automatically on her side, but her friend instead called her out that Sophia had started all of this because she was previously showing it off to her in their DMs. In the end, same treatment was given to Lara and Sophie's close friend. Sophie's group of peers would relentlessly target the two of them and pressure them to pick Sophie's side, no questions of retaliation. Among our sources, we managed to contact a few people who have the thoughts of the victim and their boyfriend regarding the situation of the exposed video. As shown here, the victim and the boyfriend were confident with what they have shown and believed that they have shown everything. However, they also state later on that they did not reveal everything and would plan to do so should Len try to defend himself, whether it be through legal action or deciding to oust him through more information. Information we did our best to reveal in our earlier segments. Another statement was in call with one of their close friends we managed to contact, in which they stated that despite the victim and her team being prepared and ready when they made the video, the decision to make the video, creation and posting of it were on the same day. We would like to let everyone know that you are allowed. You are allowed to have your own opinions on this topic, as this is a moral situation. The legal side of this problem is quite apparent, in which LenTotally is at fault. His actions were his own and should be punished accordingly. We would like to reiterate that we made this video with the goal of morality, in which we show everyone the truth. How you, the viewer, would see it is completely valid. No one can judge you for your thoughts, as the moral situation of this whole problem is entirely opinionated. Attacking others regarding this is immoral and unnecessary. Completely bashing others for their desire to think on their own and question, instead of blindly following statements, is wrong. We are a journalist at heart and would like to clear up as much air as we can so that people do not get harassed. A few friends of the victim had barraged certain people with questions and accusations for being neutral with their stance, and we find it quite unfair. Trauma is an effect of great trouble and or distress to the victim. While we agree that LenTotally had committed pedophilic actions, the victim did not display signs of trauma. Trauma is a word so casually tossed around, so let us clear things up. Trauma is the response to a deeply distressing or disturbing event that overwhelms an individual's ability to cope, causes feeling of helplessness, diminishes their sense of self and their ability to feel a full range of emotions and experiences. The victim did not display any of this, as her daily life went by quite naturally. Her close friends can account for her constant activity with bright openness in a lot of her routines. But what about depression? Those who are depressed can hide how they truly feel. Depression caused by this event would seem likely if it weren't for the fact that the victim had constantly spoken to her friends and others alike in private and public voice calls about her sexual explicit relations. A hidden cry for help would show signs of a person slowly losing a sense of self, as it matches with depression and trauma. The victim actively did these actions, flaunted the fact to her friends, not listening to friends who would tell her to stop doing this and it's wrong, and even continued to do so when she was in a relationship. At around October onwards, she had a proper starting relationship with someone in which LenTotally had supported whilst trying to lessen contact with her. She sent photos of herself until Len finally decided to cut off contact, the final verdict being that she isn't traumatized. Her constant desire for attention is shown in the following facts. Constant provocations for ASMR from LenTotally in return for pictures from her. Consistent advances despite friends telling her to stop. Flaunting of the fact in private and public VCs as well as to her friends' DMs. Sending pictures of herself even during a relationship with someone else. Still actively trying to keep contact with LenTotally. Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological response that occurs when hostages or abuse victims bond with their captors or abusers. This psychological connection develops over the course of the days, weeks, months, or even years of captivity or abuse. Was Len totally pedophilic in his actions? Yes. Was he abusive? No. His connection with the victim was one of the friends at the start that eventually becomes strenuous and toxic. A bad relationship with a person, whether in terms of dating or friendship, or in this case, friends with benefits, does not affirm a good reason to believe it's abuse. But wait, Len is older, so obviously he manipulated her. In this case, Len is only a legal adult. He obviously made severe errors of judgment and allowed himself here. He is at fault for not denying the victim. Len was simply joking about a sexual topic, only for the victim to persist and offer herself. She was not manipulated. As she began this all, Len messed up and should be punished for constantly going through with her provocations and making advances himself after. However, the victim was not manipulated. She was well aware of what she was doing, affirmed by the fact that she makes a lot of advances herself and flaunts it to her friends. All this proves it wasn't an abuse relationship. Hence, it couldn't be a Stockholm Syndrome at all in the first place. Len totally has committed pedophilic actions in accepting her advances and should be punished. However, it wasn't Stockholm, it wasn't trauma, it wasn't depression. She was warned, she was given options to stop. She had someone else to date later on. The victim went through with it all anyway.